Do you ever see those really cool hobbies on Roblox, the one popular one, that have all these very cool features, but you just don't know how to make them? Well, in this tutorial series, I'm going to show you how to make them. And if there's ever something I don't show, make sure to leave a comment, and I'll for sure make a video about that. Now, to get into the video. So obviously the first thing you're going to do is to create a new place. I'm going to use a classic base plate as it's going to be the easiest to create things on. Now from here, we're going to want to create the checkpoints themselves. So create a new part. You can make it look however you want. I'm just going to leave it as the basic part for this. And I'm going to anchor it just so it does not move whenever a player touches it. Also make sure that each checkpoint is named by a number. So the first one will start with 1, and then you can create as many as you want. Just make sure each one has one number higher than the previous. So in this case, the checkpoint with the name 1 is going to be checkpoint 1, and 2 is going to be 2, 3 is 3, and so on. Also create a folder within the workspace itself. And this folder, you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to use the name checkpoint, so if you want to make sure all the code is the same, name yours checkpoint as well. It's also case sensitive, so make sure you use the capital C. What we're going to do is we're going to take all of these parts that we use as our checkpoints and put them within the folder. Now from here, this is going to be where the coding starts. Go to server script service. This is going to be where most of your scripts and where your code is held. Create a new script. You can name this whatever you want, whatever makes you remember that is going to be the script that's going to be used for the checkpoints. I'm going to name it checkpoint script. And the first thing we're going to want to do is define a variable for the checkpoints. So essentially what this does is every time we reference this checkpoint, it's going to go to the workspace and then look for the folder called checkpoints so that we know that this is going to be where the checkpoints are held. Also, what we want to do next is whenever we want to detect whenever a player is added. So whenever a player is added to the game, what's going to happen is this is going to fire, and this is going to start a function right here that will run a new function every time a new player is added. So every time a new player is added, it'll start here and it'll run the code that's in here. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to create a variable called firstLoad. So essentially what this does is we're just going to keep track if this is the first time the player is joining the game, not like overall, is it the first time the character is going to be added, because we're going to also detect when the character is added. So we're just going to make sure, is this the first time that the character is being added into the game? If it is, then it'll run whatever code we have next. If not, it will not run that code. We'll also create two variables that we'll not assign yet called leaderstats and stage. So what this does is we need to find a variable so that we can use it somewhere else. We're going to assign these values once the character is added, but we just want to have the variables created here so we can use them and they will be stored the entire time. So what we want to check next is we're going to check if when the player's character is added. So what this is going to happen is every time they die and they respawn, this function will run. We will run the code in here every time a new character is added. So if they just die on a stage and their character respawns, this will happen right here. So what we want to do first is check if it's first load. So if first load is true, then we're going to run this code in here. So what we're going to do is create a new leader stats. What this is going to be is it's going to be a folder that's underneath the player. And what this folder is going to be is it's going to be a folder that's going to hold the values for the stage number. So this is creating the folder. It's going to be right here. So this is players. Whenever a new player is added, the player is going to show up here, and you can click on each player individually and you're going to see a folder called leader stats. We're also going to need to name this folder. So leaderstats.Name is equal to leader stats, and we're going to create the stage value. It's going to be an integer value, so this is going to hold any whole number, and we're going to make the parent of it the leader stats folder. So this is going to be a value underneath the leader stats folder. We're going to name this value stage, and what we're going to do is we're going to set it to 1 because it's going to start off without any value, but we want the player to always start off at checkpoint 1. Later, we're going to show how to make the stage save upon leaving and joining the game. But for now, we're always going to set it to 1. And we're also going to make it so that first load is false. So now whenever the new character is added, it's not going to create more folders or create more values. And it's not going to set the player's stage to 1. It's just, this is only going to happen on the first time the character is added, because it's going to be turned off. It's going to be set to false. And this is checking if it's true, so that's not going to run. Now what we want to do is we are technically waiting for the character to be added here, but sometimes I've noticed that Roblox is a bit laggy and doesn't always wait properly. So what we're going to want to do is wait a bit more. So we're going to wait for 2 parts that are of the character. So whenever a character is added, there's going to be a couple parts within it. So there's going to be a humanoid. So if we go here, this is going to be my character right here. You can see the leader stats folder in the stage. But within the character itself, there's going to be a humanoid. And there's all of these parts here, right? The main 2 we're going to wait on are the humanoid and the humanoid wait part. So we're going to wait for the humanoid. All this will do is it will not let the code run forward unless these specific things are found within the character. And this is just making sure that there are no issues, because sometimes your character would load in before these parts, and when you're trying to move the character, it could break and your character just won't end up moving. The next thing we want to do is also to create the reference to the specific checkpoints. Like right here, we're finding the checkpoints folder, but we don't know which is the right checkpoint. So we're going to have to create a variable that holds the exact checkpoint the player is on. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the checkpoint. That's the same as the stage.Value, right? So the stage.Value is going to be 1. That's checkpoints, not checkpoint. Stage.Value is 1. When the player is on stage 2, it's going to be 2. So it's going to find the checkpoint within the checkpoints folder, right? So find the first checkpoint that has the name, either 1, 2, 3, and that's why it's important to have the name of that correct. What we're going to want to do from here is a little wait statement, just so that the code has a little bit of time to process and there's no more glitches. And what we're going to do is move the character to the checkpoint, not the checkpoints, the checkpoint position of it. So now essentially here, I'm pretty sure if we run the code, it should work only for 1. See, we move the character to checkpoint 1 because not here, in the players, you can see under the leader stats, under the stage, I have value 1. So now what we need to do from here is we need to make a way to detect if the player goes to the next checkpoint. Because right now, we're always spawning the character there. See, the stage doesn't update when we go to stage 2. And the character is always going to spawn on checkpoint 1. So to do that, I'm going to add another bit of code here. So the humanoid right here, whenever this humanoid touches a part, we're going to run this function right here. And we're also going to get value to the hit object. So whatever object is hit, we're going to be able to keep a reference to that and check if that object is one of the checkpoints. So what we're going to do from here now is if hit.parent. So what this does, in Roblox, you can put all these items underneath one another, right? So we're going to check if the object is underneath the checkpoints folder. So if the object that's hit, if it's parent, and I'm directly above it, is the checkpoints folder, then if two numbers, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this, which essentially, because these are not numbers. This is a string. So it thinks this is a character, not a number. So what we're going to do is we'll convert this character to a number. So it's going to convert the name of the object to a number. And if that number is equal to the player's current stage value plus 1, so essentially if it's the next one up. So if I'm stage 1 and it touches this object and it converts this name to a number, so it converts the number name 2 to the number 2. If that 2 is 1 higher than the player's stage number, remember how we checked underneath the players? What it's going to do is it's going to then increase the player's stage by 1. So this is pretty much all the code right here for the first part. So, see, we're on stage 1, we spawn on stage 1. If we touch this, our stage number went up to 2 because it touched the part that is 1 higher than the stage we were already on. So now if I reset my character, you're going to see we spawn on stage 2. Touch this and we're up to stage 3. And one more thing I want to show before this video ends. You saw how my character took a long time to respawn there. This is all up to you, but if you go to players here, respawn time, you can change this to something shorter like 1. So now whenever the player dies, they respawn much quicker. You can also, if you want, go to avatar, settings. I have to save this to Roblox first. Okay, so I'm just going to name this. Okay, so now we go here, we can go to settings. If you click these 3 dots right here, you can force an avatar type. So R15 is, the newer one. What this does is it has a lot more animations and it doesn't work as well if you're trying to make an obby. So if you want, you can force an R6 avatar, which is the more blocky one. And these are overall, for the most part, much better for obbies. You can always leave it R15. They should both work completely fine.